Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Symphony. We have been plagued by demons this evening. Bridgett is going to be backbenching it for us. She is handling the tech and really struggling under some amazing challenges that we have confronted this night. For those of you who've stuck around, thank you so much. We are here, Symphony Entertainment, Gaming and Arts. Gaming company focuses on horror systems, indie games, organic content, and player agency to bring a symphonic approach to horror role-playing, and we are just so glad that you have joined us. I am your host for today, Heinrich Moore, one of the authors on the Miskatonic Repository. As I mentioned, Bridgett is off-screen. Maybe we'll hear her, but you'll see her in the chat. This evening, we are playing Heinrich's Call of Cthulhu Guide to Carcosa, which has launched just today, and I am very happy to say, thanks to many of your support, we have already hit copper bestseller status in less than 24 hours, which is just amazing. Nice. Just blown away. Huge thank you. Really takes the pressure off this stream, you know, like everything's gone fine. So
everything's gone fine.
Everything's so fine. Did want to say one quick announcement. Symphony Entertainment has a Patreon. If you like this content and would like to help us create more, please back the Symphony on Patreon. I am one of the supporters. I would love for you to be as well. You can check that out at patreon.com, Symphony Entertainment. With that, let me say how grateful I am to Symphony and Bridgett for hosting this premiere of the Carcosa Guide. I think we're going to have a dreadful time, but it's going to be a fun, dreadful time. So this is a solo campaign for Call of Cthulhu. It's playable just by your lonesome, or you can, as we're going to do this evening, have one player and one keeper. We've never done this, so we don't necessarily know how well a solo experience like this is going to translate to Twitch, but we're hopeful, and we're going to do the best job we can. Also, we're hosting a giveaway. In honor of this premiere, I'm giving away a free PDF copy of tonight's game. To enter, all you have to do is be a follower of the channel and enter !Carcosa for a chance to enter. We'll do the drawing towards the end of the show, and if you can't stay until the end, please check your Twitch messages, as Bridgett will have reached out to get a hold of you to get you that PDF. Before we get into the content, please do be advised that Call of Cthulhu is a horror game with mature content. We are aiming at a mature audience, and viewer discussion is advised. Content warnings have been discussed with the cast and crew. We have reviewed red lines. The X card is in play. X's can be sent via private message. No judgment will be passed. No questions asked. We will simply revise the scene, move on, and continue having a great time. We'll also be using the green, yellow, red traffic light method, which can be called by any cast member. This is just you this time, Bucho. I suppose Bridgett could put it if things get really off the rails. And you can do that at any time. So without further ado, let's unveil our amazing cast of one for this evening. Bucho, thank you so much for joining. You are one of the contributors to the guide, and you will be the first to brave dread Carcosa. Bucho, please tell the world who you are and where people can find you and some of the things that you do.
My name is Bucho. I'm currently production daddy at Symphony Entertainment. I'm also very excited to both lose my mind and my voice tonight. So if I suck down a few lozenges during the stream, just assume it's in character. You can find at my Linktree. I've got links to all my books. I've got links to my paintings and my Instagram, but although my Facebook and Instagram are currently deactivated right now while I work on my third and fourth books. So maybe don't look at those, but you can go check out my blog. So that's where you can find me.
Excellent. Yes, among the demons that we faced in preparation for this evening was Bucho potentially losing his voice, which, let me tell you, that was an amazing conversation we had earlier in the week. And fortunately, that has all worked out. We'll be streaming for about 2 hours, so we're hoping that if his voice does give out, it'll give out at an appropriately dramatic moment. Now, before we get started, Bucho, you've created an investigator already using the prompts in the Carcosa guide. So while we're going to skip character creation, that is a part of the guide, you will see, audience, the results of the kind of investigators that you can create with the Carcosa guide. With that said, Bucho, can you tell us a little bit about your investigator?
Sure. So if you look at me, I'm wearing a crumpled work uniform.
Mm.
There's a name tag on my shirt. It says Benjamin Roy, librarian, Morgantown Public Library. I was never supposed to be a librarian. I really should have studied more and become something else. Like I thought about becoming a psychologist at one point.
I mean, that seems like a well-balanced, healthy-minded investigator, if I've ever heard of one. But the fact is, no one ends up in Carcosa by accident, even if they may think that. In fact, they're all wearing a particular burden that we call a mask. These masks include, for example, struggles with addiction or guilt or self-doubt. Bucho, what mask does your investigator wear?
So Benjamin wears the mask of the lost. I've lost my Tessa. She's gone. I fell into substances that I had no business consuming, and I'm beginning to hate this face that I'm wearing.
Well, that sounds pretty serious. I hate to say that things may get worse before they get better, but let's have fun as they do. As we get started, let's find out where we begin and what it is that you see. Bucho, could I have you roll a d3?
Sure. Yeah. That'll be a 1.
All right. So you are going to start off this journey at a rest stop. It's going to be by a highway. You're in a bathroom. And tell us what you see there.
My eyes are closed from exhaustion. I've been traveling a while. The heat outside is really oppressive. Even more so here in the restroom where there's just no air and I'm trying to catch my breath. I can, when I open my eyes, I see a reflection in the cracked mirror. I wipe away some of the condensation on the glass and my face kind of comes into focus a little bit slowly. I reach down, I turn on the tap water and brown, nasty water is coming out of the faucet. I realize that there's also blood all over my fingernails because they're broken or missing, all of them. I look back up at the mirror and I can just see that like there's a deadness in my eyes. And I'm wondering if this is what destiny has in store for me, if this is my end game. And as I'm thinking this, there's a flash in the side of the mirror. I see Tessa and then she's gone. I badly wish I was somewhere else right now. But I'm also glad I'm not back at the library.
Bucho, how the fuck did Roy get here?
How did I get here? Is it that book I read? Is it after I saw that play? I don't remember anything of what was written or said, but I remember there was a sign, a yellow sign. 3 curved lines like question marks surrounding the caricature of an eye. I know I only saw it the once, but now I seem to see it all the time. And even in this mirror. I look back down at my hands and I remember in this moment that I've done a really terrible thing. And at least for now, I've outrun the cops. But I'm pretty sure they know who I am. And they're definitely looking for me.
As we begin, you look away from this stranger looking back at you in the mirror and step out of the bathroom of this rest stop station that you've stopped at. You emerge into the cool night Looking back, you see the bathroom door swing closed behind you. You are in a parking lot besides a highway, trees on either side of the road. It is night. You see only one other person around. They're leaning against one of the street lamps. You don't see any other cars, though. The street lamp flickers, and the figure briefly disappears from your vision before re-emerging. And a gravelly voice speaks to you. "Evening, traveler. Fancy meeting someone else on this road." They're wearing a long, pock-marked trench coat. Filthy fedora, seemingly rescued from a garbage dump, completes the ensemble. "Have we met before, stranger? Swear you look familiar." They take a long drag from their cigarette, the light disappearing briefly as they inhale and then glowing more brightly as they exhale. Strangely, the cigarette extinguishes after another drag. Bucho, Benjamin Roy, by virtue of starting at a rest stop, is carrying a flashlight. You can add that to your equipment, and you may find use for it in the course of your journey.
Okay.
But right now, the lights have flickered out from the street lamp, and the cigarette itself seems to have extinguished. How would you like to proceed?
I think I would. I think I would be courteous but dismissive. Like, I'll say hey, but I don't know that I really want to talk to somebody else right now.
Yeah, you respond. There's no immediate response back, and the silence just drags. It's just this uncomfortable void between you. "Well, no matter," the stranger says at length. "I'm here to deliver a message, whether you want it or not." Another pause. Do you say anything?
Okay. What possible message could you give me?
The figure sighs. You don't see them anymore. Again, the light has extinguished, but the street light does come back on for you to only find that the stranger has vanished. Where they were instead, there's now something slender. It leans against the lamppost, and between flickers of the street lights, the thing unfolds. 2 arms, 2 legs, a head hanging at a broken angle, and a face covered by, is that nylon or maybe fishnet? Its clothes, such as they are multicolored, ragged, more like dirty ribbons. They are wrapped around its dancer-like body, and when the lights flicker off and on, the thing has moved closer to you.
Well, I run the fuck away.
You turn and begin running, and you hear, that sound of like when you take a knife out of a knife sharpener or you take it out of a holder. Mm-hmm. You hear that sound in stereo.
Okay.
Go ahead and give us the first sanity roll of the evening.
Jesus. Okay. Out of 50. That is a 7.
That's a 7. All right.
That's
no
7.
Sanity loss for this. One of the mechanics that we're going to want to pay attention to as we go through your journey is making sure that you keep in mind your temporary insanity threshold, which I believe is 1/5. So I think for you, what we're looking
10.
at 10. Yeah. So if you lose 10 or more, let me know. You might have
let you know.
The rest. Oh, good.
Oh, yeah. I'll make sure you know.
You are running. Your heart is threatening to explode out of your chest as you duck one way, then the other in an effort to get away from whatever this thing is. Go ahead and give us a dodge roll.
Okay. Out of 30. Nope, that's a fail.
Okay, go ahead and roll me a d6.
6.
You take a total of 7 points of damage
Jesus.
as you run around the corner of the rest stop. and suddenly find yourself confronting the thing. You're not sure how it got in front of you, but you have been stabbed in your gut.
Bro, we're
Both
trying to
ways.
make it 2 hours, right? We're trying to make it a 2 hour stream.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. Listen, we started late, so I'm just cutting to
That's
the
fair.
chase.
That's fair.
Get it? Cutting to. This is
You're
the
fine.
high-level humor. That means that I will not make it a full 2 hours. So you have been stabbed, and you see crimson start expanding out from these 2 entry wounds in your stomach.
I guess I'm gonna try to cover them with my hands, which are already covered in blood.
Yeah,
So
you can back up a little bit and try and apply pressure. Just how was that a major wound for you?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Then
Yeah.
let's go ahead and make that Constitution check to
boy.
see if you pass out or not.
I do not pass out. That's a 30 under 40.
Man, I sort of feel sorry to hear that, because you are now still facing the thing, which is twitching and seems to unwind further. When it moves, it's almost like it's opening up, and it seems intent on continuing to pursue you. What's your next step?
If I have access to the flashlight, I want to try to flash it in like what I would assume is the face of this thing, like distract it.
All right. Go ahead and give me a sanity roll.
Yeah, 17 under 50.
Okay.
Good there.
When you flash the light in its face, you see that, again, it's covered by fishnet. Also some of these ribbons that are wrapped around it. But when your flashlight catches it, you think you see Tessa. The figure freezes when your flashlight lights up its face. And then it turns around and begins running away from you, wailing.
If I've scared it off, then I'm just going to keep the light on and keep it pressed on the figure as it runs away.
Okay.
And just back up.
Okay, you back up. How far are you backing up? Is your plan to like get into your car? Is it to hide out? You are profusely bleeding. But tell me what your next step is.
Is the gas station open? Like other than the bathroom, is the gas station like is it open for business?
It is not.
Okay.
No, this is sort of the kind of rest stop that like in West Virginia we would be very familiar with, right? It's really
like stone restrooms.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, there's no store here. There's maybe a couple of vending machines.
Right. Where you could get like a couple of maps or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. At that point, I'm going to get into my car and try to drive.
Absolutely.
Get the fuck out.
You drive off. Your car quickly becomes a mess. Is the blood that's flowing out of you the only blood in the car right now?
No.
Okay. You're not sure for how long you drive. You only know when your car stops as the gas gauge zeroes out. Ahead of you on the road, just past, seems like the highway has ended. Not sure how long ago the highway ended, and you ended up on this road that now ends in a lake. There's fortunately no sign of the creature, but you don't remember seeing a lake around here, and you're pretty sure you don't remember it on any maps that you might have picked up from the rest station. You also don't know when exactly the stars disappeared from the night sky. If it's even night anymore. There's no moon, but there's also no sun. Instead, the sky is now filled with two spheres, each of which is black, both outlined by a blazing light, as though in the midst of a total and unmoving solar eclipse. A clock chimes in the distance, and across the lake you see structures. And in the light of the black blazing suns, you see what appears to be an entire city. Now, Bucho, if we were doing a complete run through, at this point you would roll to find out which vision of Carcosa you will confront. But for purposes of the stream, so that we could actually give Bridgett the player handouts that she needs, we are going with the necropolis. The city you see is some great calamity that has befallen this place. What might once have been a glorious medieval city is now a crumbling ruin. Everywhere in the distance, there are signs of destruction. Some buildings are bombed out. Others look abandoned. Still others appear defaced with yellow graffiti. I'm going to have you refer to Appendix D, Maps of Carcosa, the necropolis, and I think Bridgett is going to bring that up for us, if she would. That is Appendix D, necropolis.
Lovely.
Awesome. So this is a map that you would find in the guide that is going to give you a layout for the city that you are seeing across the lake. And I know you have it open on your side so that you can consult it, but there is a location that reads start, beginning, lakeshore, appropriately enough, which is where you currently find yourself. I need you to let me know what your next step is, whether you're going to try and head towards the city and the lake, whether you're going to try and leave, whether maybe you look around or do something else with your car.
I think with as much as I'm bleeding right now, and as odd as the place is, a lake feels normal. So I'm going to try to go to the water and maybe hopefully clean my hands, hopefully clean my wounds as best as possible, clean up at all, if possible, just clean.
Excellent. In the guide, we would be opening ourselves up to Act 1, the city. Specifically, the guide is divided into a series of scenes that match the locations or the encounters that you might approach. As you have indicated that you are going towards the lake, we are going to go to, appropriately enough, Act 1, Scene 1, the lake. And Bridgett, if you wouldn't mind showing us that handout, which is just a picture of the what we would see in the guide. And I have too many tabs open, but I think
it's good.
Yeah, so the symphony at home can see a little bit of what you are experiencing right now, and that's what you would see in the guide, and you would be able to follow along. I'm gonna summarize a bit of what you see here, because as you approach the lake, the city is looming large and foreign upon the opposite coastline. For a moment, this feels like nothing more than a late-night stroll. As you mentioned, this is the most normal thing here, especially after what you just discovered. Of course, the sight of the two eclipsed orbs in the sky casting down their dark light quickly disabuses you of this notion. And looking at the lake's inky black waters, you also think you spy an occasional air bubble that emerges from the lake's surface. Curiously for a lake, it's also rippling, as though it's experiencing waves. How would you like to proceed?
I think that...
Sorry, one additional important detail I should mention.
Sure.
That I conveniently dropped in the last sentence of the description. There is a lone rowboat that rests on the shore. There's also sort of a path that goes around the lake.
I would say I am too injured to really take stock of the bubbles or the waves. And so I'm just going to go down to the water. Yeah, just straight to the water.
So you investigate the lake, approaching its thick waters. Despite the occasional waves, um, the effect is somewhat relaxing. Waves, the sound of them swishing up onto the shore, onto the pebbly sand. It's almost hypnotic. Your eyes start to blink as though waking up from a deep slumber. But in the time between when you lost and regained awareness, you've moved closer to the lake. Maybe you intended this, but you're now crouching by the water and find that you have scooped some of the water up into your cupped hands. How will you proceed?
I think I will take a drink of the water, splash it on my face, and then begin to cleanse myself.
You started by saying you were going to drink it, so that's where I'm going to start as well. Splashing water on your face would have been another possibility. And as we're playing, folks might be wondering, like, is the guide structured to specify exactly what you can and can't do? And the answer is, yeah. If you want to treat it as sort of a multiple choice problem, there's going to be an A, B, C, D action that you can follow. But while that's awesome for beginners, and I hope that most anyone can sort of pick up this book and get a great Call of Cthulhu experience, whether or not they have played a TTRPG before, if you have, you can play a little loosey-goosey with it, and you can interpret the player's actions within the realm of what's provided in the book. So that's what we're doing here. Benjamin, the water tastes strangely brackish and sweet at the same time. Your vision blurs as you drink the water down, and you see a kingly figure silhouetted against a blazing sun. Then you begin to retch up as much of the water back into the lake as you can. What remains becomes a part of you and changes you. Go ahead and roll me a d4.
I don't care for that at all. 2.
The reason you were retching, the water, once it's inside you, it's incredibly acidic. It's like you have been drinking bleach or some other kind of chemical, and your stomach pains. If you could, you would just pry your hands into those knife wounds you have and pull out whatever you could. As it is, you are curled up when you come to, and your constitution score will have decreased by 5 points.
It wasn't great before. All right.
There's no way that you think yourself able to manipulate the boat at this point in the state you're in, and you don't much care for your chances to swim across this lake.
Yeah.
So looking at our map of the necropolis, you have 2 options of how to proceed. You can proceed to a location called the chapel, or you can proceed to an unmarked location. And the way the guide works with its multiple playthroughs is the chapel is always going to be there, right? It's written on the map, it is there. If you go to the unmarked location, we're going to roll for a random scene that you find there. And that scene is now going to live on your own copy of the map. That's going to be there forever, just like the chapel.
Oh, that's fun. Okay. So I'm going to roll to figure out which way I'm going to go first.
Absolutely.
So we're going to go to the chapel.
All right.
Although I really wanted to go right, but I want to go to the chapel.
Now, we did not make Bridgett have a handout for every single chapter in the guide, so there is going to still be a lot for you to discover if you pick up this product. So we're not going to show you images of everything, but believe me when I say Alex Willott, who did the art for the Carcosa guide and the layout design. He did a lot of the art. We also had a few other talented artists, Shana Rosenberg and others, contribute. It's gorgeous, but you'll just have to take mine and Bucho's word for it for now. So welcome, Ben, to Act 1, Scene 3, The Chapel. Although the ceiling is missing, this place is unmistakably some kind of religious building. The lingering smell of incense imbues and clouds the air. The chapel's altar is dominated by the statue of a shrouded figure, its face hidden beneath a cowl, similar to the one that you saw silhouetted moments ago. The palm of one hand is turned towards you, with the middle and index fingers raised. In front of the pedestal on which the statue stands, there's a man. He has straw-like hair and is lighting candles as he murmurs to himself. As he turns a corner, you also see that his face is adorned by a mask. The mask of a medieval plague doctor in ivory white.
I'm going to try to get his attention and ask for help.
I mean, you are bleeding, right? And you're kind of stumbling into the chapel. A cry of sanctuary would certainly be appropriate. So you approach the figure, who turns towards you. Greetings to you, stranger. I am now Talba, once high priest to Casilda, the queen, from before the king's arrival. Gesturing to the statue behind him, he says, "Do not be afraid. You have come to a safe place where you may rest. That is, unless you have something of which you seek to unburden yourself." He asks you whether you wish to lie down to rest, or whether you have something you would like to confess.
Well, I don't want to confess to a stranger. I just need help. So I'll lay down.
Okay. It's not long before you pass out, but he brings you water, seems to tend to your wounds, though when you ultimately awaken, you are alone. Throughout the guide, you may have the opportunity to rest. So when you rest, it is essentially like 24 hours pass in a regular game of Call of Cthulhu, where your investigator has a chance to get some bed rest, bandage up their wounds. So in this case, you're going to get yourself 1 hit point back. I know, now you're only down 6. You can go ahead and give me a first aid or medicine roll to see if you might help yourself further.
I've got the base on both of those, so nope.
It's just gonna be the 1. The figure did what it could. Now, as you are playing through, when you succeed on skill rolls, not that you did so here, but when you do, just like a regular Call of Cthulhu game, you would check your skill, because you might gain experience. You might improve that skill in the future. And when you rest in the guide, you have the opportunity to improve your skills just like that. We're not going to get into that in this playthrough, but just know that there is that mechanism incorporated. So we really try and give you a chance to play a regular game of Call of Cthulhu. When you awake, you are alone, and you once again must explore, which is the guide's way of saying, time to move on, time to choose a new location. And in your case, you've got, well, really you have 3 options. You could go back to the lake, in which case we go through and go to that unmarked location you attempted by before. But on the map, you also have 2 other corridors you could go down. A more northern one or a center. So really you've got your choice of, like, do you want to go the northern way, the middle way, or the southern way?
So we're going to go directly to the right, to that the closest empty one. Yeah,
absolutely. Now, every time you move from one location to another in the guide, there's a chance that you might discover something along the way. So we are going to take you to Act 1. This is not a handout or anything, but Scene 30, Halls of Carcosa.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you to roll a D100 because we have any number of strange things that you might encounter here.
89.
89. The way you wanted to go is blocked. The passage ahead of you has collapsed. We would, at this point, have you, on your copy of the map, put an X through the corridor connecting to the location you didn't reach.
Okay.
In future playthroughs, it will remain blocked.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you'll have to go a different way, I'm afraid. High or low?
Oh, this is fun, Heinrich. I'm having a good time.
I'm glad. Benjamin is having a good time.
Okay, so that way is blocked. So I'll go back towards the chapel, but then I'll take the other way up the furthest north.
Yeah, you'll go the high road. Go ahead and roll me a. Actually, I don't think you need to roll. You've already had your random encounter here. But go ahead and roll me a d6 to find what outer city location you arrive at.
3.
That's a 3. You arrive at what's called the Statue Garden.
Okay.
Let me quickly check to make sure we don't have this as... Okay, good. The Garden of Statues extends in every direction as you get closer to it. The sculptures are principally humanoid, but only in the loosest meaning of the term. They are otherwise unified by neither style nor era. Instead, they form a wild tangle, a wilderness formed by intertwining appendages rising from tree trunk-like pedestals. So you would go ahead and write Statue Garden in that location on your map, because we now know this is where the Statue Garden lives.
Okay.
Tell me what your strategy is here. Are you trying to just get through this place? Are you trying to find its center, perhaps? How are you proceeding?
Yeah, I think at this point, I've gotten rest, but I'm not completely healed. I think I'm just going to try to stumble through until I find somebody else who can help me. So I'll keep going north down that passageway.
Okay.
Or I will try to navigate through the Statue Garden. We'll put it that way.
All right. You try and find a path through this wild garden of bizarre stone statues. So strange are some of the images you see depicted in sculpture that you could truly believe you are traversing a kind of forest. To make your way forwards, I'm going to need you to attempt a skill roll. I'm going to accept Navigate, Track, or Artcraft Sculpture, if you happen to have that skill.
Oh boy. Okay. No.
No, you don't have Artcraft Sculpture? Oh, Ben.
I don't even have Navigate or Track.
Oh boy, well, it's going to have to be one of those.
No. Very close. I got a 20.
All right.
But no. Definitely
so
a failure.
I see in the guide here, it says on a fail, refer to entry 1.19.3. But if you were to wear a particular mask, the Mask of the Guilty, it would have you go to a different result. And that's one of the things that is hopefully going to make the guide a fun thing to play through several times. Because if you were to come back to the Statue Garden on a future playthrough with an investigator wearing the Mask of the Guilty, you might just have yourself a different kind of experience. But that'll have to remain a mystery. For you have strayed from the path. No matter how long you search, you seem unable to find a path through the maddeningly bizarre garden of stone statues. In time, you may even come to believe the statues are moving themselves, as though closing off potential means of escape, or otherwise bewilder your efforts to retrace your steps. Just how long have you been roaming these woods of granite and marble? Go ahead and make me a sanity roll.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a hard success.
All right. You are keeping yourself keen, but I will need you to attempt once again a Navigate, Track, or Artcraft Sculpture roll. By the way, did you roll luck for your investigator?
I did. So
Okay. So
35.
luck rolls are also in effect. Yeah, I'm not shocked that Ben isn't the luckiest fellow. Luck rolls are in effect, and throughout the guide, you can use luck to affect skill rolls just like you would in a normal game of Call of Cthulhu.
Okay.
So let's see how this roll goes.
Oh, that's an 8. So yeah.
Very nice. Was that navigate or track?
Both. Yeah, they're both 10.
All right. Well, make sure to check it so that the next time you rest, you have the opportunity to improve it.
Let's do track.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So on a success, we can continue reading. You've been lost in the woods, perhaps for a long time, but now, finally, you are out. Looking back, you clearly see a path through the entirety of the statue garden, all the way back to where you started, however long ago that may have been. Go ahead and roll me a D100 as you leave the statue garden for your next location.
25.
Did I hear 35?
25. 25.
25, 25.
Sorry, my sexy voice is getting in the way of things.
Don't you ever stop yourself from using that sexy voice. As you continue onwards, deeper into the city, closer to the palace, you encounter another resident of this place, presumably. The woman stands at the end of a corridor that you are traversing. She wears a beautiful dress, and her eyes are inviting. In one hand, she holds an ornate fan that hides the lower half of her face, looking above it demurely with her eyes. Her other hand is tucked into the folds of her dress. "Do you find me beautiful?" she asks, each word lingering in the air.
Sure. Can you help me? Like, I'm hurt. I need help.
She lowers her fan to reveal the rest of her face, which you see has been mutilated. A serrated cut extends from the corners of her mouth all the way to her ears. The parody of her smile is at once too much mouth and too many teeth. "Do you still find me beautiful?" she asks. Go ahead and make a sanity roll.
Yeah. That's a 4 out of 50.
Okay. Ben is keeping it together.
Somehow.
We can stab him, we can knock him around, but fortunately he is at least keeping his senses. So you are caught off guard, but you can still choose your reaction. So your options here, I'm gonna read them out to you. For she has asked how you will respond to the question of, is she beautiful? You could agree with her. You could. Well, you know what? Why should you have these options? I'm just gonna let you tell me how you would like to respond, and we're gonna go with one of the options available here.
I think he would recoil. I mean, he may not be taking any sanity loss, but that's a horrifying fucking thing to see. I think he would recoil and probably scream out.
I think I'm going to go with the result ugly then.
That's fair.
You stumble back, and that response is all that she needs. Her eyes widen at this affront. Her mouth opens as far as it can as she screams. And in a rage, she charges you, withdrawing her hand from the folds of her dress to reveal a large pair of rusty scissors.
Oh, Jesus.
That she opens and snaps shuts as she comes at you. And I imagine possibly you've even fallen down, and I was like scrambling back as she just starts moving towards you methodically, screaming her wide-mouthed scream. You're going to need to make a combat roll.
Okay.
Now, a combat roll, for purposes of the guide, You get to decide what skill you would use in a combat approach, right? Depending on your investigator, maybe you have a gun, right? And you open fire. Maybe you have a baseball bat. Maybe you just have fists, or maybe you just dodge. But that's up to you. So combat just encapsulates any of these skills that you think is appropriate, and we're going to have you roll that.
I don't know what skill this would be, but I'm going to try and do the same thing with the flashlight again and distract her with the light because it worked before on the previous creature.
Okay. I like it. I think what I'm going to have you do under that circumstance is go ahead and give me a sanity roll.
Okay.
It's requiring actually just give me a power roll.
Yeah, I'm going to fail both of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it a critical fail or just a regular fail?
No, just a regular fail.
Just a regular
I could spend the luck, but I'm not going to spend half of my luck on that. So,
all right, you have just gotten your flashlight up to flash it at her face when she pins you to the floor. Go ahead and give me a strength roll with a penalty die.
Okay. Oh, yeah, 61.
Okay, you are able to push her off before she's actually sorry on the success.
Yep.
On the fail, it's even worse.
It's a success. Sorry.
She just manages to stab you. You're about to have a third hole in your stomach. At a certain point, you're going to have to just like hold everything in, I think. Go ahead and roll a d6.
It's a 1.
Okay, you take 1 additional point of damage. I imagine perhaps you blinded her with your flashlight, and so she was only able to cut you a little bit before you are able to scramble away, probably bleeding all the time, to continue onwards.
Okay.
All right. We proceed to the next location. There's only one choice here, so it's easy for us. However, we have now come to an inner city location. So the map is divided into outer and inner city locations, and each one is going to be randomized. Go ahead and roll me a d6.
Okay. It is a 1.
It's a 1. All right. We are going to have you come to the music room. Let me open that up for us.
And that's going to be that first one of the top 3, right?
Exactly. Okay. Exactly right. So you are going to arrive bleeding. You're making it a habit to arrive at locations like this, running away from something, bleeding profusely from your stomach wounds.
I like to be consistent.
Yeah. You're bleeding on carpeting. The chamber carries the silence of a museum. Instruments, both familiar and foreign, fill this space. Dominating the room, though, on a raised platform, is a grand piano. As you take a few faltering steps through this space, you become aware of how loudly your footsteps echo here, especially when each one is a struggle. You have the strange urge to stifle them, to muffle them. Do you happen to have 20% in a musical skill, like art craft music, or an instrument? No, Ben?
No, Ben was not gifted in the audio arts.
No. In that case, a single note rings out. The sound came from somewhere behind you. Maybe some kind of stringed instrument. It could have been the harp you passed, or the mandolin. Neither they nor any other instrument has a musician to play them, though, when you hear a second note, this time from in front of you. This one sounded as though it came from an accordion. Again, no one there.
I'm going to get the fuck out of here.
The room erupts in sound. And I think before we continue, we should take ourselves a 10-minute break.
Oh, okay.
We've been going for about an hour, so let's come back refreshed and tackle the rest of the music room, and let's see if you can make it to the palace.
Okay. All right.
Welcome back, Symphony. We are doing a playthrough of Heinrich's Guide to Carcosa, and our investigator, Benjamin Roy, played by our very own Bucho, is really running from one nightmare to the next. He's bleeding profusely. He's just ended up in some kind of music room. No musicians around, but all the instruments have started playing themselves, and it's a cacophony. But Bucho, maybe you can remind everyone here, especially those folks who've just joined us, how you've gotten here. How is Ben doing?
Yeah. Well, Ben is not doing well. Booch is also not doing so hot.
Are you green light? Are you yellow light?
Oh
Are you
no,
red light? Okay,
I'm
okay.
the light's green, baby.
You're
Light's
green
green.
light.
It's constantly on. It's not going off. Let's see. So Ben came to in a bathroom initially, in a roadside bathroom. Saw his ex in the mirror of the bathroom. Came into contact with a stranger outside, who then morphed into some fucking ribbon monster, who attacked Ben. Ben ran, got into his car, drove off. Found a lake that was beneath kind of unusual foreign horizon with two black suns. Oh. He ended up at the lake, drank some of the water, vomited it out, walked around the lake, found himself in a chapel trying to get help. Passed out, woke up a little bit refreshed, but not a whole lot. Made his way into the halls of Carcosa, though I don't know that he knows the name of them. Came across this woman with a fan. Was that God? There's been so much terrifying shit. Did I come across her in that room, or was it was it the music?
Yeah, you're coming from the slit-mouthed woman.
Okay. Ran into her, very clearly insulted her, got blocked from leaving the room, got into the next room, which was the statue garden. More female figures abound. Got turned around a little bit, ran off to the music room. There's there are feminine forms that I keep coming into contact with, which I find very interesting. So yeah, we're in the music room. I'm hearing music, and that's where we're at. And I'm
Absolutely.
pretty sure I'm still bleeding out.
Yeah, I think so. But I think you've got what, something like 5 hit points left, so you're doing fine.
Correct. Yeah.
All right. Music. Making sure that I see exactly where we are, and I think, oops, 14.5. Excellent. You move, maybe stumble among the playing instruments as though in a daze. I can just imagine Ben just dislocated, confused, looking every which way and just seeing these instruments playing themselves. As you pass one of the instruments, an unseen force grasps hold of you and compels you to take up the instrument. What instrument is it?
Tells me. I think it's going to be a flute. like a pan flute.
Why would that instrument be personally significant to Ben?
I think it wouldn't be I don't think it would be personally important.
Hmm.
It would just be close proximity.
Okay. You have never played the flute. I don't think your investigator has any musical skill.
No.
All the same, you begin to play it with surprising talent. Go ahead and give yourself 20 points in Artcraft Flute.
All right.
And go ahead and give me a skill roll using that skill.
Okay. No, that is definitely a fail.
Okay. Go ahead and give me a sanity roll then.
Okay. Okay. No, that is also a failure.
Okay. Go ahead and lose 1d3 points.
Okay. Okay, so it'll be 2 points.
Okay. So you are playing the flute. Around you, all the instruments are playing, each seemingly keeping their own melody. Among the instruments that are playing is, of course, the grand piano at the center of the room, which, like all the instruments, plays on its own accord. The music, also like from all the instruments, is jarring. But you feel the notes of the piano in particular vibrating through you, and the notes from your flute begin to match the notes from the piano. It's about then that you realize that you've begun to move. Something is compelling you. First your hands, then your feet twist at odd angles. Your arms and legs follow suit. Despite your struggles, your limbs are pulling you along like marionettes' invisible strings. You're being drawn, while still playing the flute, towards the piano. You see that the grand piano in the center of the room, that its lid has opened, and you see its casings inside. But there are no hammers and strings. There are only teeth. Go ahead and give me a power roll.
Sure. No, that's an 84.
Okay. You move closer to the now snapping maw. Please continue making power rolls. We are looking for you to either reach 3 successes or an accumulated 3 failures.
Oh boy. Okay. That is a 39. That's a 1 success.
All right, so we are tied at 1 and 1.
Okay, that is
You move a little
65.
away from the piano.
That is a second failure.
You move back towards. It's almost like a dance now. You're moving towards and away from the piano.
That is a second success.
We
So
are now tied at 2 and 2. I can
2.
tell you that this next roll is going to be pretty important.
Nope.
No. Should you accumulate 3 failures before accumulating 3 successes, continue reading below. You are almost at the piano's gnashing teeth when the entire instrument comes to life. Strings from somewhere inside it reach out and wrap themselves around you and pull you off your feet. It is thus your feet that are pulled in the piano first. They are the first to feel the impact of the piano's teeth closing down and tearing through flesh and crunching bone. The rest of your body is slowly tenderized as it is devoured. The terrible music continues to play. Reduce your hit points to 0.
Yeah.
Also, make a sanity roll.
No.
No, okay. Go ahead and lose 1d10.
That's 8. So
Okay.
I am definitely I have hit my threshold.
Okay. Now, in the Carcosa guide, when your investigator goes to 0 hit points or goes indefinitely insane from losing 1/5 of their sanity points, we have a scene for that. They are appropriately called Death in the First Act or Madness in the First Act. Now, technically, here we would
It's
go with
both.
it's both, and the guide would have us do the madness first. That's what would happen first, and then you suffer 0 hit points. The idea being you're going crazy as you're getting eaten, and it's only afterwards that you've been eaten, and so. I'll leave it to you, though, given how badly you've been injured. Would you like to go with death in the first act or madness in the first act? Which of those would have hit Ben first?
Oh, buddy, I'm pretty sure it's going to be the madness.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I feel like that's going to.
You have become indefinitely insane as a result of losing 1/5 of your sanity points over the course of Act 1, the city. Let's roll a 10-sided die to see what your fate is.
9.
Your lunacy eventually exhausts you, and you fall unconscious as the piano continues to consume you. When you awaken later, you find that you are still in the piano room. The music room. None of the instruments are playing. The grand piano is just a grand piano, although you think it's watching you. You're feeling more unsure of yourself than ever before. Also, your hands won't stop shaking, and you find yourself whistling, perhaps as though you were playing a flute. Go ahead and roll me a d6.
Use one of these beautiful old ways dice, which are
Ooh,
very cool.
gorgeous.
A 1.
Okay, reduce your POW score by 10.
Okay.
All right, recalculate how many sanity points you can lose before reaching 1/5. So whatever your current sanity is, right, we just take 1/5 of that, and that's your new amount before you go down. We are going to put your hit points at 1.
Okay.
So we may be very close to the end for poor Benjamin, but
No, that's shocking.
yeah,
That's shocking.
as he pulls himself up one more time, he gets to continue to explore.
Okay.
Is he going to go looking at the map, Appendix D Necropolis, which, Bridgett, could I ask you to put Appendix D Necropolis back up for everyone to see? Because, well, we've had some folks join late, and so maybe not everyone will have seen it. But for those of you Symphony fans following at home, we are in the top part of the map, and Ben is trying to decide whether to continue around the palace at the center of the city or start going towards it. There is just one location that separates him from the palace gate. Ben, where are you going?
So if 1 was going to be continuing northeastern,
Yep.
and south was going to be 2,
Yep.
we're going south.
Okay. Go ahead and roll me a d6 to find
Okay.
out what inner city location this is.
3.
3. Well, we may indeed have come to the end of poor Ben's experience. Bridgett, would you tee up Scene 12, the choir room?
Hitting on the music too.
Hitting on the music too. Yeah, you're not having much luck with with musical instruments. As you enter into the next room, Leaving behind the music room and its silence, you are greeted by melodic singing from the voices of some 24 vocalists. You do not recognize the choir's words, but the beauty of their song is a welcome contrast to what you've experienced thus far. It's then that you see that their eyes are each sewn shut with razor wire, and you remember the nightmare you are in. Their sorrow-filled melody now seems entirely appropriate. Now, usually we would continue reading here, but because you wear the Mask of the Lost, we have an event that is specific to you.
Sure, yeah.
1.12.1, a familiar melody. You listen to the tortured choir. The more you listen, the more the music seems to shift and change until, after a while, you can understand the words. More than that, you recognize the song. It was her favorite song, Tessa's song. Your lips mouth the words to the melody as you continue to listen. The two options that the guide presents you, Ben, are to continue to listen or to join the singing.
Having come back from the dead and having had my mind broken and having seen that terrifying shit upon waking up and moving into the new room, I think Ben would try to start singing with them.
Your song joins with that of the choir. Your words sink into the melody, become one with it. You think you see some members of the choir even smile as you join them in song. Despite the frightening sight of these sewn-shut eyes, it's not a frightening smile. They look as though they're remembering a fond memory. You find yourself closing your eyes. Go ahead and give me a power roll.
Oh, shit. Yeah, that's a 4 under 40. Success.
Okay. You continue singing louder and louder. You do not even realize when the choir went silent, and yours remained the only voice still singing. Opening your eyes, you see that the choir is gone. You don't know for how long you've been singing, here, by yourself, to yourself. But there's a sense of relief within you, like a weight has been lifted from your heart. You recover 1d4 sanity points.
4. Nice.
You also break a chain. Now, if you're wondering what these chains are, on the investigator sheet that comes with the guide, each investigator has 3 chains, which you can think of as binding the mask they wear to them. Benjamin wears the Mask of the Lost. They lost Tessa, their ex. Well, lost. Maybe something else happened to them. Let's not dwell on that point. But of these 3 chains, one of them is now broken. And depending on how many, or indeed, if any, you break, the ending that you will experience at the conclusion of the guide, assuming you make it all the way through, will be different. But for now, you've broken your chain, you can rest, and then you will explore. So, in resting, you will regain 1 hit point. You can also make a first aid roll to see if you get back 1 additional hit point.
Okay. So someone in chat, looked like it was Doc, asked what was the song.
Oh. I feel like Bucho, you may have some notion of what Ben was singing.
I do. And I hope there are some Jeff Buckley fans out there because the song is "Lover, You Should Have Come Over."
I look
Oof.
forward to looking up that song afterwards and
It's
enjoying it
it's beautiful. The lyrics
to
are phenomenal.
this imagery. And hopefully you can still enjoy the song without thinking too much about the circumstances here under which you experienced it.
I failed my medicine roll, so no extra.
Okay. No extra. One is plenty. You're now at 2 hit points. We are nearly at time for tonight, but I think we have just enough time for another couple. So as you move to the next location, which is going to be the Palace Gate, you still must roll one more time on the halls of Carcosa. So go ahead and give me a D100.
Give me an 8.
Going to be an 8.
Mm-hmm.
That imagery you noted of the women that Ben is running into, that's going to continue.
Because of course it is. Of course it is.
So you can imagine that you are within sight of the palace. You can see the palace gates ahead of you. But before you get there, you come across a woman. She is hunched over, kneeling on the floor, her face hidden in her hands. She weeps. You can ignore her and just continue on your way. Or you can stop and find out what she's all about.
I think I'm going to stop and find out what she's all about.
What do you do? How do you approach her?
Carefully, gingerly, asking if she's hurt.
You stop to check on the weeping woman. Now, the guide has a series of achievements, things that you may accomplish during a playthrough that are going to have effects in subsequent playthroughs. It's sort of a checkbox exercise where if you had, for example, already unlocked the mystery of the weeping woman, we would see one thing happen. But because you have not, we instead have the following. The woman whirls about, and in a moment she is on top of you. Flashes of dirty nails cut across your face and arms. You imagine yourself inside a food processor. So fine are the pieces into which she shreds you. We would have you cross out this first encounter in the guide because, of course, you might run across the weeping woman again with a different investigator in future playthroughs. But for now, you will suffer 3d10 points of damage.
Okay. Yeah. That's 18. So I'm negative 16.
You are very dead. And I think in the interest of time, given where we are in the evening, and with you on the cusp of reaching the palace gates and potentially entering Act 2, you have been felled. We would, if we were to continue over time, go to death in the first act, and you would roll a 10-sided die, and we would find out if you were truly dead or if something else had happened to you, much like when you went insane. But I think this is where we're going to leave Ben.
I think it's a good stopping point. For now.
For now. At this point, you would take that investigator, you would put them off to one side, you might have yourself a beverage, and if you wanted to, you could create a new investigator and go back through Carcosa, possibly the Necropolis, which is what you explored, or one of the other 2 maps. Advantage with the other maps is, well, there's other locations. Advantage with this map, you know where some of the things are. And you will have, as a player, built up knowledge. Maybe you do just want to walk past the weeping woman. Or maybe you're going to stick to your guns and try and check on her again. these are the things that are going to change from one playthrough to the next. But Symphony, for those of you who've been intrigued by the guide, that's going to be something that you have to discover for yourselves. Bucho, I know you helped out with this book. You saw bits and pieces of it, but you never saw the art, and you didn't see it all come together.
Nope.
What did you think?
I fucking love it. Yeah, I'm super stoked to do this on my own multiple times for sure. This is great, man. Yeah.
It's it took the better part of 2 years and the help of a lot of people, including yourself, including Alex Guilot, who did so much of the beautiful art and all of the layout design. We have a part of the guide where we shout out all the contributors, all the folks who helped proofread. There was a small army of folks, of which you were a part. So, I mean, a huge thank you. But for now, friends of the Symphony, this is where our show is going to end for the night. Thank you so much for everyone who joined, even in spite of the demons that sought to steal Bucho's voice away from us, the demons that haunted Bridgett's streaming equipment and sought to deny us the ability to come to you. Thank you so much for sticking with us. Or if you're watching the replay, we hope you enjoyed it. As Bridgett would say, you are indeed the best part of waking up. We sincerely appreciate you. Thank you, viewers. And we should do the giveaway. Because if folks have been doing !Carcosa, then I think we may have a list. So, Bridgett, will I turn that over to you?
Yep, she's already up in the chat.
Oh, boy.
Getting them wet.
Drum roll. Exciting.
Hey, Mr. RX Oliver.
Congratulations, Oliver. And I see some belated ! Carcosa come in there. But we have our winner. Congratulations, Oliver. If you contact Bridgett, we will get an email from you and we will send you a code to get a free copy of the PDF for what you just witnessed, at least a part of it, and you'll have the whole guide for your own self. And
it's beefy. It's 400 pages of fucking great stuff.
It's 80,000 words. I hope you will agree that it's good value. But you know, at the end of the day, if not, please still post a review, comment. This is how we get better. We're all amateurs here at the Miskatonic Repository, and we are all just trying to get better at this hobby that we really love. Bucho, any closing thoughts you want to share?
No, only that I am very ready to play this again, for sure. Yeah, this is a solid piece of work, man. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. And thanks to Bridgett and Symphony for hosting. It's been an incredibly meaningful project for me that exists thanks to many folks. I've shouted out Alex Guilot. Huge shout out to some of the artists, Shauna Rosenberg, Ben Wenham, Lovelace Ace, Nefili Mandalaras. Thanks to many folks who helped proofread, in particular you, Bucho, Matt Tracy, David Melville. Thanks to you. Thank you for watching. If you want to help with this project, I hope you will pick up the guide. But even more importantly, spread the word, post a review, click a rating. You make the Miskatonic Repository happen. And on behalf of all creators on the MR, we thank you so much. If you enjoy this content, please also consider helping the Symphony make more by backing us on Patreon at patreon.com/Symphony Entertainment. We hope you've enjoyed the Symphony, and we look forward to seeing you again. Have a wonderful night.